Well, hey everybody, this is Rawkin Spirit Jen. I'm so glad you can join me. Today we are making Scarborough Fair Soap, rich with parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, straight from the garden and with essential oils. And we're going to be featuring my new soaper sleeves and put them to the test. Okay, well, let's begin. As you can see, I've got my fashionable protective soaper sleeves. How cool, very retro to go along with the Scarborough Fair. So peace out. So I've got my oils brought to about 95 degrees and my lye water. I'm just going to go ahead and emulsify this oil just slightly before adding my lye. Now we'll add the lye, which contains Tessa silk and aloe vera juice, and as well kaolin clay. So that's about a 50-50 mix of aloe vera juice to water. So we'll bring that to a medium trace. Then I'll separate this off into 4 separate containers for the coloring. And my coloring is going to be done with reishi mushroom in one, maca root in another, and then I've got my parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme that I've grown and dehydrated and powdered. So that's going to give a really beautiful green. And I've also added a little bit of kale powder to this. And then we'll add a little bit of food safe coloring and beautiful micas. So my goal is to have a lovely lavender and then a cream, a brown, and a deep forest green as in the song. I've taken most of these ingredients from the song to make this soap. So when it talks about parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, I've got those in the dried powdered form as well as essential oils. And then I've got the coloring to be reminiscent of the deep forest green. And on top we're going to have the silver tears, and the cream is about the snow on the brown mountain tops. So I thought this would be a lot of fun. I've got it scented with lavender, lavender, sage, rosemary, and thyme, and I thought that would be a beautiful blend of bright green, herbal, earthy scents, softened and rounded out with the lavender. It's going to be very 70s, hence my headband, my turquoise, and my soaper sleeves. They're all reminiscent of the time of the 70s, and I loved that song. That song was something that spoke to me very much in the late 60s, early 70s. I adored it, great memories, and I just wanted to dedicate a soap to that beautiful song. So I'm just mixing all the micas and the colors and the powders in, and then I'll add my essential oils and we'll start pouring this off into the mold. And I'm not quite sure yet how I'm going to put this in the mold, so I'm just going to do some type of layering, and then I got a cute, great little tool to make my designs within the soap batter, and you'll see that it's really fun, very cheap and inexpensive, very childlike. I took this out of the children's toy section, so I think you'll find this to be quite a fun and ingenious little tool for making designs in the soap, and I can't wait to cut this tomorrow and see how that turned out. It would be so cool if I had the rights to be able to dub that song in the background to play softly as I'm creating this soap. How cool would that be? But I don't think it's available. I guess I could play it in the background in my music and then give credits. I don't know if you can do that with YouTube, but I may give it a try and see if they flag it. I think if you give credits to the originators of the song, I think you're safe and okay. If anybody knows anything about that, you can put it in the comments and let me know, because there's a lot of great music out there I'd sure like to feature and give credit to them. I'm going to do more of these themed type of soaps in the future, and I did a contest about a month and a half ago, and I had shared with the YouTube group, my subscribers, if they wanted to win a bar of soap, to give me some thoughts for designs and inspiration for making a soap. And somebody did call out and say, use a song for your inspiration. And when I was listening to the song this morning, it popped into my head to make this soap. Immediately, that subscriber who joined that challenge came to my mind, and she is going to get a bar of this soap, and I will announce that when I do the cutting tomorrow, because I'll have to look it up and find the subscriber that gave me that great little tip. So I appreciate you all for doing that, and I'd love to do more of these in the future so that I can also share not only in getting inspiration from you guys in creating a soap, but then I can give back and honor you with a reward of sorts, and a winning a bar of soap for that great, terrific inspiration and idea. There it is, the little soap bubble wand. So it's this really tall cylinder filled with soap with this long bubble maker, and I thought, oh, this is going to be so cool to put down in there instead of just one skewer. And so I just rinsed it off, and here we go. So I cannot wait to see how this turns out. This might be just like the greatest, cheapest tool you could ever find. It was like 98 cents for the bubbles. I saved the bubbles. When I'm done with the tool, we'll wash this up, put it in, and we'll have some fun. My girls will love playing with the bubbles. So I've got my silver tears on top, so we're just going to plop that on, and then I'll put a cute little swirl pattern on. And then I'm going to tap that down, spray it with alcohol. I'm going to cover it to go through the gel phase, and we're going to give this a beautiful tribute to the Scarborough Fair song by Simon and Garfunkel from the 70s. Cut this up, and I'll display that at the very end of the video. And I will comment on how these soaper sleeves worked for me at the end, and I'll show you with the website descriptions at the end of the video where you can buy a set of soaper sleeves for you. So handy. Didn't get any soap on me, but if I had, I wouldn't get any lye issues. And then I'm gonna just put those aside for the next soaper's use. So there you go. I'm taking my rubber gloves off, pulling off my soap sleeves, put them aside for the next soap. Worked great. So with that, I'm gonna let this cure overnight, pull it out. I'll show you the cutting and the finished product. God bless. Make it a great day. Subscribe to my channel, visit my websites, leave a comment, give a thumbs up, tell others about my beautiful soap company. Thanks a lot. Okay, everybody, here is the unveiling of my soap creation, and we'll see how this turned out. It's still a little bit on the soft side, so we will see how this is going to cut. It's firm, but yet it's soft. So I'm going to take and just trim the edges. Okay, everybody, I'm here for the cutting of this beautiful Scarborough Fair soap, utilizing the kids' blow bubble wand. And so it's a little bit soft, but I think it's going to be okay to cut. So here we go. Not so bad. That's the cool little design that that little bubble blower wand made. There's the beautiful top. And let's see if you could see the glitter on that. I think that turned out really well. Let's keep going. See how the designs go down the middle. Very consistent. It's funny, I was going through all of my inventory of soaps and cutting a bunch of samples out and shrink wrapping those. And I wanted to take an inventory of all the soaps that I made in 2018. Of course, there was a couple I've made this year, but I have a lot of soaps. These are, I'm missing about 3 or 4 different soaps, but these are the little soap samples that I kept for myself to be a library of colors for color matching and scent for scent matching, in case I just did like I do in the kitchen, shake a little of this and shake a little of that. So that was those. That was kind of fun. I did not realize I did that much soaping. And some of them I ran out of and I had to do more batches because they sold out or I gave them all away. Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to one who is there. She once was a true love of mine. So that is my soap and my song. Could not get the rights to be able to play that in the background. Even though a cappella, it does not sound so good as I'm not blending harmony and melody with music. But that's okay. Fun fact that you didn't know by that little tiny bit of chorus there. I have been a singer most of my life, and I'll give you a cute little story about that. Music was a big part of our family and a big part of my life, and we traveled a lot. I was in year-round school, and so with that we would travel every 9 weeks. We'd go to a different place in the US or Mexico as a kid, and so we had the 8-track tapes, and my dad fashioned his truck where it had a shell on the back, and then he took the back window out and he built a platform, kind of like a bench that opened up and you could put stuff in it that was right behind the cab, and he carpeted all that, carpeted the whole back. And me and my younger brother, my older brother, I was the youngest, but my brother just older, the youngest of the 3 brothers, we were 2 years apart and very close, and so we always sat in the back and we leaned our elbows up so we could see our parents and talk back and forth through the cabin. We would listen to music as we would travel and drive for hours and hours, for days and days, and so music was a huge part of my life. It was a big part of my mom's life and my dad too, but my mom played it a lot. My brothers, teenagers, they played tons, all different genres, and I learned to appreciate music very young and song. And I used to put headphones on and lay on my back as a young girl and sing to Barbara Streisand, Linda Ronstadt, Dionne Warwick, all these beautiful ballad singers. And I would perfect my voice, I guess, if I had one back then, I'm not sure. And then I joined some junior choirs through elementary and junior high, and I tried in my high school years to join choir, and I thought I would, I've never tried out for anything, but I had to try out to be in the choir, and I didn't know what she wanted from me, so I thought, well, I'll just do all these runs before runs were big, and I will put my own little stamp on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Well, guess what? I did not make it. Basically, the teacher said, don't quit your day job. Learn reading, writing, math, and science. I was devastated because I had such a passion, and I would sing out, and I never had anybody tell me that I couldn't sing, couldn't be part of a singing group. Devastated me, although I did not lose my love for singing. Every time I was in a car, I was singing to music. I don't care if I had a boyfriend, girlfriend, parent, family. I sang with my whole heart. And back at that time, I sang everything secular, didn't even know what Christian music was, or really hymns or anything like that other than Elvis Presley. But anyway, so with that, I just sang for the love of singing and song, and just sang by myself and taught myself how to play the guitar and a cute little organ by numbers. and I would play Stairway to Heaven and sing songs, Cat Stevens, all kinds of really cool things. Well, then fast forward, when I turned 24 to 25-ish, I had moved back home with my parents, and I was a single parent, had my son, and we started going to church as a family, and that's when I first learned of the songs of praise and worship to the Lord. And I was so taken, I got rid of every bit of secular music, and I only wanted to sing for the Lord. The songs were powerful, and the melodies were beautiful, and the harmonies were beautiful, the words were beautiful, and so I never looked back. I spent the next 20 years only listening to Christian praise and worship music. Nothing secular was in my home. I didn't listen to it in the car. I had the Message or Spirit music on satellite and tons of CDs. Well, when I was about 24, I joined a worship team at my church, and it was a very small church at the time, and there was only, about 5 or 6 band members and singers on the worship team, and I wanted to try out so bad, but I was so afraid. And so what I ended up doing is I got my friend who owns a health store out there in California. She's become a very dear sister and friend and family, really, for over 25 years now, closer to 30. But anyway, I got her to go with me, and she played the guitar and would sing worship at home, and she loved the Lord, and so she went to try out with me, and we both got on it. But I was so petrified to sing on a stage in front of people, and I didn't believe in myself, so I sang very softly. I was there, my presence and heart was there, but my voice really couldn't be heard, and I would be shaking so much that I would take some NyQuil because of the alcohol in it, because I wasn't a drinker anymore, but I did that. I would take that and take a little shot of it just to kind of relax so I could get up there and sing, because I was so afraid, and I had to do that for a short little season. And then I got over it, but I kept my eyes closed for probably at least 6 months to a year. I never opened my eyes. But anyway, that church started growing, and then some people moved up from Los Angeles area, and the girl that became a very good friend of mine, she did musicals growing up, and she sang with the Vineyard, and I started going to a lot of different praise and worship seminars and stuff with my church because I was on the praise team. And I learned all kinds of concepts and tools and things, and because she was a skilled singer with background in opera, and then her husband was phenomenal and could play every musical instrument, well, she taught him some for vocals, and I would just mimic her. I would sing like she did, and she developed me in her range. And formed a band outside of the church, and we did a lot of ministry to the military, to the Marines out in the CACs, and we just sang wholeheartedly. And my heart's desire is that would have kept going. I would have loved to have been part of, as a career, part of Christian music and bands and serving in ministry. But life goes on, you have kids and you move on, and so we disbanded, and then I moved away after 7 or 9 years, 10 years singing with them. And I moved up to Utah, which we didn't go to church because it was Mormon saturated, and we weren't part of the LDS church. And so other than going back home every couple of months to visit my folks and go back to my home-based church, I didn't go to church, but I still sang. And then I went through a divorce and took all my 4 daughters, and my son was with me at the time. He was actually where I was moving to here in Missouri, but he ended up moving back home with me when I got here. And I joined a really big mega church and joined the choir, and that just developed me in a whole nother realm with a whole different kind of corporate music, and it was so beautiful. It was the greatest thing for me, and it gave all my kids a love of music, and they do still have that today, and some of them they sing very well, but I sang with all of them in my womb, and I held them at practice on the stage, so they had music near them and the feel of that their whole life. And so anyway, once I stopped going to the mega church and I joined my small church family, very small stage, very small worship team, and I've only done a couple of little fill-ins, but I've not been part of corporate music and worship and praise since I've probably over the last 5 years. And I miss it. It's my heart's desire and passion. It's what the Lord birthed in me and gave me an appetite, a hunger, and a growth from. And I miss it, and I wish I was part of it still. But that hasn't stopped me from singing for the Lord. I love to sing in church, and I love to sing in my car. I love to listen to music, and my kids, they trickle in the secular, and I love even secular music. I don't necessarily like the messages on most of them, but I love the beat and the tunes. And you know, God is the creator of music, and He puts those abilities and talents in His people that are going to praise Him. And you can do good with it, or you can do bad with it. You could fill yourself with edifying words, building your faith up and giving you strength, and also praising the Lord and glorifying Him. Or you can sing for the world and complain and pity party and be nasty and everything else that's in music today. It's cynical, and it's bitter, and it's dark and heavy and hard and nasty, and there's not usually good messages in it, but the beats are so good. But I'm still careful, because subliminally, even if you're listening to the music, those words are getting in, they get into your mind, and it's not a good feeding. But that was just a little story I wanted to tell you, and I do love music, and I do listen to all of it. And sometimes my kids will say, "You're listening to that?" because I've got some secular song on, and I really like the beat, but I do my best to tune out, or I make sure that I'm not listening to stuff that's bad. When I exercise and I jog and stuff like that, I absolutely love some of these hard, fast running beats, Pink, and I like Gwen Stefani. I just, I pick the songs that speak to me that aren't garbage, and I use them to motivate me to run faster and run longer and to have fun exercising. And so I give credit to those girls for being great workout singers. So anyway, probably didn't sound like I could sing, but I was more like playing around with you guys. But sometime maybe I'll get some kind of karaoke background music. I'm rusty on the guitar, so I would not accompany myself, but I may sing a song for you, and maybe it'll bless you, or maybe it'll give you a laugh for the day. Not sure, but I'm willing to do it. So be looking for that someday. It'll just show up unexpectedly. So we'll cut this last bar here, and I think these turned out really nice. Can't complain. Pretty little soap, Scarborough Fair. So I'm going to cure these out. They'll be ready about 4 or 5 weeks. So if you're interested in one of these beautiful tributes to Simon and Garfunkel's Scarborough Fair with parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, I have a little bit of kale powder in here. I have lavender with rosemary, sage, and thyme essential oils in this, and smells really nice and clean. It's not heavy. I've even put a little bit of fairy dust on the top, along with the silver tears. So that's it, folks. Thanks for joining me, and I appreciate all of you. It means the world to me. I'm a little girl in the middle of the meadow with no one really to talk to much in a day, so you guys are my family and friends that I get to hang out with through the day and get to, although it's removed somewhat, I watch your videos and I feel like I'm in your house visiting with you, and I appreciate the videos that you put out, appreciate the comments and the dialogue and the interest in my products, and I love your products, and I like to, often I'll cycle through and I'll buy different people's products. Every couple of months I'll treat myself and buy something from somebody. So be looking for my name, Jen Strickland, Rawkin Spirit Creations. When you see something going out in the mail, it's because I'm loving on you and supporting your good work. So with that, God bless and make it a great day.